Yeah.
I think. Welcome to the Barbell Strikes Back. I'm James McDermott, joined by Miguel Porter. Miguel, the road to states. We're on it. It's time. How you feeling?
Yeah. I mean, how am I feeling? I don't know, but it's getting close.
It's crazy close. It's about to be September 1st tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then we're literally 27, 28 days out. And that's going to go by so fast. We're in that weird time where I'm like, all right, I have a million things to do. I feel like I have time. And then all of a sudden, there'll be no time at all. It'll be like that Thursday. It'll be like, how is it 9 p.m. already? I still have so much else to do. And then getting the team prepped and everything. It has been, I think this is our weirdest prep ever on just getting everybody on the same page in there. There've been a lot of vacations.
Yeah.
And it also affects like the flow of the room, the vibe, everything, right? Where it's like, okay, this person's been away for a week. This person's been away for 2 weeks. And everybody's vacations aren't at the same time. They're kind of, staggered a little bit. So how has that affected you, not having everybody there? Only like just a few people here and there,
Yeah, I think honestly, just like a visual thing of looking in certain directions or like just space being empty kind of changes your view.
Yeah.
So from like that very basic sense, but I think you're right in terms of like you take a week off or 2 weeks or like sporadic throughout a few weeks. And I think also not everyone's always in the same place at the same time with like the movements or as well versed, because it might be your first week doing something while everyone's on their third or second week doing a specific iteration. So it kind of can throw that off as well. I think when you're like used to, oh, this person's weights are usually around this percentage of mine or like this far away. And if they're not, it kind of throws that off as well sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the sport too, of like trying to balance everything and making it so that you can still have a life while training.
What? That wasn't in the contract, life.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's if there's 8 people there, the energy in the room is so different. It just, there's more action, there's more barbells moving around. It's louder, it's quieter at different points. But then when you only have like 3 or 4 of you guys in there, it's still solid training, but it's like you start to realize how every single individual person contributes to the whole of training. Yeah. Is it when we have the bigger groups versus the smaller groups, especially recently, does that change like overcoming some challenges? Like if you're just having a rough day overall, or like, let's say work is really busy, you come in, you're really tired, and then there's only like 3 other people. Does that change your morale and how you're able to overcome the challenges versus if there was 9 of us in there?
Yes, because I feel like take like the full 9 as 100%. Yeah. Each person takes up like their percentage of like the room's morale. So it's kind of spread, but when there's only 3 or 4 of us, like how everyone else is feeling has a much bigger impact. Yeah. So positive and negative, I would say as well. And yeah, depending on your day, sometimes it has been good for me because some days I've just needed like not silence, but like really focus in, and I don't want other distractions. So sometimes having like 3 or 4 might help. But yeah, when you need like additional support or like hype and all of that, it helps to have a larger group so that you get the collective instead of like relying on an individual here or there to really bring that up.
And the individuals you might be relying on, they might also be going through it at that moment.
Right. Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, if we have 9 people in there and 2 of you are having a rougher day and it was not food, sleep, all that stuff, and you just run down from the job. That it helps to balance things out. But now if we have 3 people in there and 2 of you are having a rough day and one of you is having a great day, and it's different, and I have noticed that you've started to turn your chair kind of away from everybody at certain points when you're resting. Is that just to not make eye contact with anybody? And
Yeah, I think sometimes I get too swept up in how everyone's moving, the cadence with which we're kind of taking reps, when it's more of like a free clock of like go every whenever.
yeah.
And it kind of throws me off where I just need to focus on what I need to focus on. Yeah. So it has helped to kind of like stay with what's going on. There are times when it helps to have like the distraction, I guess you could call it. But yeah, there are also moments where it's like, oh yeah, I need to, if anything, I'll look at the clock just so I keep track of that. But yeah, there are times where I need to kind of shut everything else out.
Yeah, and it's completely okay. It's good to you're going to need to do that anyways at the meet, So it's good to start practicing it now. Like, okay, people are joking over here. That's not me today. I need to just, I need to not be a part of the joke and the fun
Right.
times happening over there, because that could easily happen at the meet. We're all around the platform. You're trying to dial it in, and our peeps are together, laugh like, and so it's like you've probably seen it before, where like the person warming up on the platform is too involved in the conversations that are having around the platform, and we're all trying to have a good time, and it's okay as long as it doesn't affect your lifting. But this is a little bit of a different meet just because we've put this gravitas on it. It's the state championships. It's not the regional. It's not a local meet. It's the step above. So we're trying to be really serious about it, and we're going for medals. We're going for records, anything we can get. Personal records, state records. We're putting things on the bar. We're using this as one of our biggest points to really test our performance throughout the whole year. So I think practicing it now on, okay, because I mean you don't want, no one wants to be left out of the joke or the funny conversation, right? So training yourself essentially to do that now, when you hear giggles around the platform at states, you're like, nope, if it's important, I'll find out about it after I'm done lifting.
Yeah.
But right now I'm just focusing on what I need to do. So whether that was the original intent or not, it's kind of actually turning into a good thing.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, for myself, it's always a different flow in the coaching too. When there's 9 of you, all right, I have 9 stops to make, and now I'm seeing Miguel every X minutes, versus if it's 3 of you, well, I guess I'll walk over here to Miguel again, and then but then it's like, all right, I need to like find the balance of like not being there too often either, and like give you space, let you lift. Not every lift needs a critique, even though you're just like, well, I could say something about, like, how about, all right, he'll figure it out on the next one, or just things like that. How do you, I guess if you put yourself in the coaching shoes type of thing, what would your balance be? Because it's tough. If there's 3 of you, it's like, all right, well, I just talked to Jennifer in less than 90 seconds. It's just, I'm moving on now. Like, I'm just trying to hang out on end zones and watch. And if there's not a lot of you, you could easily just be giving too much feedback. Like, I find myself trying to fight not giving too much feedback. And there's times where I'm like, I feel like I'm giving too much feedback. I don't know. One, have you felt that at all? And 2, how would you kind of navigate that situation where, like, there's 8 or 2 or 3 or 2 people?
Yeah, I think definitely when there's less people, you're over to each of us more often. Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting. I think it's different with like the CrossFit classes that I have that are smaller, because there's so many different elements, and I feel like there's so much more refinement that you can grab from each individual. Whereas I think like with barbell club, like we've said before, like so many of us have grabbed that knowledge over time. And I think we have a decent idea of what we need to fix if something's off.
Yeah.
Or at least like a troubleshoot type of method where we might do a lift and it might feel weird and we go, okay, reset. Let me take this next one and see if I can just, wipe the slate. Or, if you're having an off day and you go, all right, what do I need to do to make sure that these are still, that they still make sense for me to do? So I do think that maybe with us, there could be more just like wait for the second one, or at least like how I would approach it of like wait for the second one and see if that problem is persisting and like if we notice it. I think that's maybe the biggest thing of like, do you realize that this is happening? I do find those to be helpful because sometimes you really don't. But
or your focus is just different than what I was focusing on. Like let's say it's two reps and you were focusing on strong arms in the lockout for your jerk, but or that's your focus. But I'm focusing on, while I'm just watching you, I'm looking at your feet and I'm like, hey, do you know that you're shifting? I think we had that conversation recently. I'm like, your weight's shifting forward or something on your jerk. So it's like, we still want your focus, but it's like just drawing attention to like, hey, this other thing is happening, just so you know. And that might mess with your focus. And that is good. Wait for the second rep. I think I've been doing that. I can't remember if I've talked to you at all during first reps. For you specifically, I try to let you finish both of them. And like on Friday, the second rep was always better. So you're like doing the thing, right? You're reevaluating from 1 to 2, and you're making a change. Or are you not? Is it just a better lift?
Yeah, and it's either or. Sometimes it is just a full-on reset, or like, oh, I didn't love this in the first rep. Let me see if I can do this better. So, yeah.
And on Friday, like, you had a lot of really solid second reps. I can't remember if I told that to you or not. Like, that was like one of my pieces of feedback, I think, was just like, these second reps are really great. And it makes me happy because second reps historically for the group have not been the best. But I think at some point this year, you guys have turned a tide of making second reps better. And I don't know if you're going to of course we want both of them to be awesome and good, but that's not always the nature of doubles. And I think it's good to leave every set on the higher note on, okay, I fixed whatever wasn't tight enough or smooth enough on rep 1. You guys are getting better at that. And I don't know if that's just maybe it's just because we do doubles a lot throughout the year. So you guys have gotten better at figuring out, how do I not make this awful? Like, all right, we do our focuses. Did I do my goal, or did I accomplish something on this set? Okay, I need to try harder on rep 2. And I already know, I mean, you guys have been burned enough from rep 2s, the majority of you, to know that like, I just need to get it done, because the barbell's not going to do me any favors here. So I need to try harder. So that's a nice thing that's come from our training for sure.
Yeah.
I had another thought that I lost on just the what we were saying before.
Well, like feedback.
Yeah, the feedback. Maybe this is why like old school coaches just to sit down, and like,
right.
All right, yeah. Miguel's going for a lift. Let me look over here. It was fine. He made it. He's alive. It's solid. All right, look over here. Hey, that bar is getting low. You should sweep it in or tighten it up or do it better. Like it's funny like how because there's such a CrossFit influence on the coaching that like that would seem so weird and foreign.
Right.
I would like hate to do it. It's weird not being mobile. But the thing is, with mobility, it means you're there. And then like the expectation is say something. And but what I've been trying to do is like, all right, the say something doesn't always need to be a thing that needs to be improved upon, because I have picked up that some of you guys are always looking for something negative, or maybe negative is the wrong word. You're looking for something that needs to be fixed, which implies that you did something wrong in that lift when it was just a fine lift. You know, like I guess you could give feedback on every single little thing on every single little lift, but I think that would develop a complex on, you know, and we have like in microdoses that thing kind of going on. Maybe not with you guys that were there on Friday. It was you, Haley, Schaff, and Jennifer. And I was like, when was the last time you four were only you four, you know, who are like the oldest members? And I really was thinking, I'm like, this is like such a solid group of like this, like these four, like if you took away me, if you took away the others in the room, if you transplanted them to another gym, you guys would all be completely okay, you know. Or we could transplant each of you to be like, all right, go coach this team, you know, like even though Jennifer doesn't have a level 1 yet, I'm fairly certain Jennifer has enough experience that she could lead a class, you know, from start to finish, and it would be completely fine. And Jennifer would give a lot of good feedback. I was thinking about that on Friday. I'm like, look at how strong of a group you guys are in just your development in less than 10 years for all of you too. Although some of you guys are closing in on that. So that was just a cool thing to see. Yeah. But I do notice with some of the younger people in the group, they want feedback, and they're always assuming something is wrong. What do you think about that? Like, I think because there are some times where it's like, yeah, it was fine, you know. But there's sometimes I'll say, all right, it was fine, but then someone else across the room will yell, you need to do this, what up? But it's like there always doesn't need to be a negative thing on a lift, which the support from across the room is still a good thing. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, does there always need to be something?
No, and I think that is part of the way that we coach CrossFit as well, of like that there always is something, and the reality is there always is something that you can improve on. But there's also the reality of, again, I think weightlifting is different, where it's like you're doing the same thing over and over and over. Sometimes it is, this is how you're moving today, or like, this is how this person moves. And yes, of course, we're always going to want you to reach that, you know, heel further, or like, I don't know, whatever all our cues are, like, not shrug so early, but it's like the reality is we're not gonna break everything down each rep and be like, start fresh. Like, so sometimes you have to go like, that's how you do it. Maybe that's not the goal for like the end of time, but like for today, I can see that we've talked about this thing, and there's effort in you trying to not do that thing or to do this other thing. So yeah, based on what we're working on and where we're at, that is a good rep.
And it's important to realize too that praise is something. It's not nothing. And you gotta, so like if let's say if Justin does a lift and it's like, that was a great lift, you're doing a good job, that is the feedback, you know. Like, it's not like all right, well, like, of course, you could always say you could push up harder, you could, like you said, find your heels more, but there also has to be praise peppered in, you know. If not, then eventually you could develop a complex on like where you yourself overanalyze every lift you do. You're like, well, there was something wrong on that one. What was it this time?
Yeah.
And you don't want that to, like, you do want to be able to like hit a lift like, yeah, I got that one, even if there was a little tiny tweak on something. Like, all right, if I took a half a step forward on a snatch, yes, there was something that caused that, and I don't want that necessarily to happen on the next rep. But what about the rest of it that was good? Like, my core was tight. I locked it out perfectly. I didn't pull the bar as high, and I had a better lockout. I kept my heels down for the majority of the pull. So it's like, you also don't want to like trash on the whole lift when, one little thing came in, but that's part of the sport. Like, perfectionism, I think, is a part of weightlifting sport, but it can definitely lead you down a poor path. And like you said, sometimes that's just the way it's going today. Okay, you ran 10 miles on Sunday, not naming names. What do we want today? Or work is busy. You're really stressed. I'm glad you made it in, because a lot of people wouldn't came in to training. Or your shoulders are tight because of XYZ thing, or for you. All right. Sometimes your lifting is different Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's a different Miguel technique. You're making lifts. We'll try to add in as much as we can, but sometimes the body just won't go, right? So like speak on that for yourself, like on what you experience when it's like, all right, oh boy, I know we don't want early pull and shrug, but that's the only way we're making lifts today,
Yeah.
And it's with the light weights up to the prescribed weights, right? So like, what are we to do on that day other than celebrate the fact that we're in and we are making lifts, right? And of course we have things like, all right, we can try to do these things, but when you're experiencing that there is no other way, what's going on internally?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the reality, and I've had enough competitions where I've just had to figure it out. So I find those training sessions to be really important as well. Because what if meet day comes and that is the way that I'm moving? I need to know, one, like I need to figure out, okay, this is how you're feeling. This is the best way to respond. And I need somewhat of like a comfort in knowing that I can still hit certain percentages or certain weights this many times doing it this way. And yeah, I mean, there's got to be benefits both ways of like, okay, we're working on this. Let's not go forward. Let's just, even bar or like very light weights and just make sure that we're hammering this in. But I think for me, the reality is we honestly don't know what it's going to be like on meet day. And I like to know that whatever it is, I'll be able to face it.
Yeah. And then, those will be the days where you'll hear voices from across the room get on you, but they don't know which Miguel it is that day,
Yeah.
And what you're having to do necessarily to complete the lifts. Although you do tell them.
Yeah.
And look at States is a perfect example. What was it, 2023? Yeah, 2023 when we switched from split to push jerk during the warm-ups.
Yeah.
You were already a couple warm-ups in on the clean and jerk, and we were split jerking, and then you switched to the push jerk, and then you PR'd the push jerk in competition on the platform with a 110, right? I think it was 110 or 109. I think it was 110.
110.
Yeah, 110. So it's like that's a good thing. It's a good thing that you're able to roll with the punches and be like, you know what? This is not going to work. I'm going to have to pull early and shrug and use only my upper body today to do these snatches. But I have the experience and the confidence, and it makes me confident today in these lifts. And we're just going to see what happens. Also, last year, right? Was last year power a year. Yeah, with the snatch, the power with snatches.
Mm-hmm.
We were trying to full snatch, and then had to. I think your first power was, I think you pulled on 86 in the warm up room, and then you powered 90 on the platform, and that was the first power of the day, right?
No, so I re-aggravated the hamstring 86 in the back. So then we switched my opener to 86 on the platform. So then we did 80, 86, 90.
And then 95 probably, or 4.
Yeah.
And 90 was a PR for the power snatch. We didn't hit 95, right?
No.
Okay. So only 2 power snatches under your belt. Well, I look at the situation. We had aggravated the hammy at the Albany CrossFit Combine, which is not happening this year. And then that was only a few weeks before States. At States, the hammy was a little bit healed. We were trying to do full snatches, but then it re-aggravated during the warm-up room. Crap. On 86. And did you snatch 86?
No.
Okay, so you went to pull on 86, and it re-aggravated the hammy.
Yeah.
And then we bumped down your warm-up or your opener to 86 itself. You powered it in the back, which was the first power of the day. So not many people can just all of a sudden just power snatch 86 kilos, such a high percentage of their 1 rep max at the time. And then you doing it on the competition platform. So you did 86 twice, right?
I don't think I did it in the back room.
Oh, so even better. All right. So didn't do it in the back room. Went out, powered it on the competition platform. Very unknown now situation on what's going to happen. Then you powered 90. And then you were really close on 95. I remember possibly being very close. So, yeah, that's I think that's a good skill to have. It's good to be able to roll with the punches like that mentally and physically have the nuance in your technique to be able to do these different skills. It's kind of like how people, I think the vast majority of people are like, all right, if I don't start power snatching, I'm not going to be able to do it, or this or that, or I can't do that variation of the skill because I can only do this one. It's like, well, these are huge holes in your game. Like, you should be able to turn, if you can turn on a dime, awesome. I've never done it that way. The closest I've ever gotten was maxing out the power snatch and then accidentally full snatching. I think I went up to I hit 80 and then I went up to 84. So in pounds, this would have been 185. And I missed the power snatch on 84 and just connected with probably one of the most beautiful 84 full snatches I've ever had done.
Yeah.
And someone watching, they're like, wow, that looked really, really good. I'm like, that's not what I was trying to do. It just accidentally happened. Like, it just, in the moment, you feel something where you're like, nope, we have to change it. And so instead of giving up on the lift, you just change it mid lift. It's like the tiniest, quickest little feeling. Do you feel something when that's happening? Like, do you have like a thing in the back of your head that's like, change it now, and you just do it?
I don't know. I think it just happens.
Just happens.
I mean, if I have to change something, like, because of the way, like, going into power snatches, I think it wasn't even necessarily that I was going to power snatch. It was just that I couldn't set up the way that I would have liked. So I knew that the initial pull had to be different. Mm-hmm. But like, if I'm meaning to push jerk and I end up in a squat jerk, like, that just happens. It's not always like super conscious of me. It's just like the goal is to make it. So that's like the only thing that's going in my head is just make it. Whatever that means at the moment is what that means.
And since you've been there before, there's no panic when the bar pushes you down and you're at the rock bottom and you're like, what do we do now? You're like, and it's just make it, hold on, lock it in and then stand up. And if you have to walk around the platform a little bit, it's just stay with the bar. Which you've had a couple of those. I think you and Jennifer have had. Haley's also had a really good bar walk around. Mm-hmm. She had one last year at States. on a clean and jerk. So yeah, it's great skill to have, and we don't know what it's going to be like on Sunday, coming up here at the end of the month. Would you say that this has been for yourself a good prep? Like we've had the whole year, and then we've had recent times. You haven't missed too much, so that's good. You have had a CrossFit competition mixed in there, but I think that was okay. So how are you feeling prep wise? Like if States was tomorrow, feeling ready?
I don't know, but I don't know if I ever do. I think it's one of those things where, yeah, every day is different, and we have these blocks set up the way that they are for a reason. I think I always hit this point where we're about a month out, and I'm like, I don't know if I can really hit these top end weights if I needed to, but I don't think that that's too uncommon in this time of year. I know that there are definitely days when I'm training when I know that I can't hit my top end weights. But there are other days where I think I'm moving well, and I think I probably could. So all in all, I think I'm in a good spot for the date that States is. I don't know about like if it was tomorrow, how that would fare, but I do think we're on the right track to be ready when it comes around.
Yeah, we've made a lot of changes to the programming. Some of how I've kind of modified the programming after the games, like after the ADK Series 2 and Games Week and everything, once we all got back together, was kind of in response to so many people being sporadic and away. It just made sense to, like, for example, day 3, to switch that to more of a what can you do today and what do you want to do today type of a thing. You could do doubles, you could do singles. You can keep making these jumps and do a lot of sets. You could do a small number of sets, because it just seemed like, like you said before, we would just have progressed things so far, and then people coming in are like on week 2 technically, and when everyone else is on week 6, and then we're going to max out or something. So it seemed, and even if I do think we have a max out coming up soon, even for those of you who have been coming to class, it'd be easier to kind of ease into that. Or if those who haven't been coming to class, it'd be easier for those people to go into that max out, because on that day, again, you could just do what you're capable of,
Right.
versus those of you who have been coming in, like, okay, if you're looking to cash in a little bit, you can. Changing up the variations, a similar thing. We were going to probably do the top down a little longer, but then I was like, why? Because only some of you have been, like 3 of you have done the top downs for the whole 3 weeks, Yeah. And then I was like, all right, let's just change it to EMOM. That way, when I do get everyone in, it's just repetition, because you haven't been getting repetitions in because you've been away. So now it's like, I need tools where I can get you reps on the bar over and over. And it doesn't matter if it's on the lighter side, because you're still going to get fatigued and still have to like work a little bit during it. And maybe that'll shake off some rust. And then for the other sessions, it'll kind of even out. So that's just kind of where my brain went to. I'm like, crap, what are we going to do? Because it is group training with an individualized twist on it. So how do you feel about how the programming has gone through the ebbs and flows these last couple weeks, where we were, so for the squats, we were not going to do tempo. We did tempo because I saw what was happening, and I'm like, all right, let's take it down that route and go a little slower and like see what things pop up in technique and get volume differently that way. But only for 1 rep, So instead of doing 5 singles on the back squats on Mondays, I kind of feel like we need a little more reps in there for the peeps that we're going to be coming back sporadically. And same thing with the other drills. I don't know. How do you think this is all turned?
Yeah, I mean, It's definitely necessary, and I think as well, I rarely have, I do complain, but I rarely have complaints, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to complain regardless. But
And most do.
yeah, and I think though I'm very much like, oh, whatever you say, I'm gonna do it. So, um, but yeah, I think tempos have also helped in that, it is another variation to the squats. Like we have been squatting nonstop. So another variation kind of helps and it kind of eases off a little bit where, we could go up heavy again and then drop back down and then really heavy again. And whereas the tempos kind of gives you a little bit of a slower breakdown of building up again.
It was going to be heavy because we were coming off of the last one. Like we had gotten our squats pretty heavy. So it was going to be heavy, but I'm like, how when some people are taking multiple weeks off at a time and this and that. So I was like, well, let's make it heavy and hard with the tempo on those 2 days. And then Friday's just the same old, a little bit of volume there. And the nice thing about the tempo, the pauses at the knee on the snatch and the clean and the jerks and the slow pull type stuff, I was like, all right, well, this will also let me see more. Because when I did start to think about it, I'm like, we have been squatting all year. Just because the weights are coming up doesn't mean little things aren't popping up into it. So if I slow you down and be like, oh, look at that, And I think week 1, we found a lot of things that you guys have since kind of ironed out on like what's going on. Like I think maybe week 1, you were shifting more forward on the tempo and then going back, or one of you guys was doing stuff like that. Or it definitely kind of exposes the limitations in your core or joint stability. Yeah. Like I know on Schaff, it really popped out. I'm like, when is your back set, on some of these snatches? And then like you can really see off the pauses at the knee and the slow pull, it's not off the floor that it's set. You find it later. And that's going to be really, really hard when the weight is 120 on the snatch and you can't get that back. So you have to have it off the floor. So it's been a nice bonus on being able to see those things for me, and then to communicate it to you guys. What is your complaint? So is it the tempos?
Oh no, I just complain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought
it's nothing specific. It's just I will complain. Yeah. But I think there's also benefits in us doing the lifts from the floor in all these variations as well, even with the pausing in tempo or slow pull. Because I do feel that, and we've talked about this a lot, like sometimes we get to a point where it's like, oh, we're really good at top downs now because we've been doing top downs. But when you have to do that full initial pull from the floor, can you just do a regular lift? Or are you like relying on the top down to kind of like, oh, I'll iron out any flaws as I go through each position on the way down and then have a better pull? Can you get that just from one?
Yeah, like if you can only set your back when it's from the top down to touch the floor and then snatch again, that's a problem. Yeah. And it's like we've talked about before, all those variations, they're strength exercises. They're like, over here in some weird part of the family tree that connects to back squats and presses and stuff, like they are a snatch, but they're not the snatch. They're just a drill that we can add weight to and also treat as a strength exercise. But at the end of the day, when you step out on that platform, you're not going to do a top down or a high hang or something like that.
Yeah.
So that was also one of the things I'm like, you know what? We just need to switch to all from the floor as soon as possible. So after 3 weeks of the top down, I was like, you know what? Anything we were going to get out of the top down would have been in these first 2 to 3 weeks. And those of you who have been coming, awesome. But now there's also like a large portion of you that never even did it, that's fine. Let's move on. Now it's like, so it's and I'm confident in doing that because of like the conjugate method, where you would switch up exercises every 2 to 3 weeks anyways. So it's like, all right, we're just conjugating it up. And it's not like we kept it light. The weights went up week to week. It got heavy. It got hard. But now it'll be a different stimulus, and it'll be all from the floor.
Right.
And then it made sense to progress the pause at the knee to the slow pull. And boy, did that slow both those drills, I've come to realize, I think we need to spend more time with them in different ways at other points of the year, where we do start it off really, really light, just to build them up themselves. And I do think if we did build up strong pauses at the knees and a slow pull, that would help a lot. I think we're to the point where we almost would need that more than we need to like, all right, let's do another cycle from the hang at the knees, so to say. And I saw so many. We were using 80%. It was a pretty true 80%. I don't think I did any trickery there or fluffed up the numbers or anything like that. It was a pretty solid 80%. And I saw a lot of cores breaking down, the midline, on just slowing down the pull. Yeah. So now when if you add like if we take out, you do your normal pull, but you add another X amount of kilos above your PR, are you also going to be able to keep your core intact, or will we just not see it because it's moving so fast and you do some wild thing to try to get underneath it? Because you could, the slow pull and the pause, they exposed so much. And I was surprised with the core stuff, because I would have thought we did a lot of core work throughout the year, but it wasn't. It was. I think it helped. I think it helped a lot on the back squats, on the squats. But I'm not sure how much we're seeing now that it actually helped on the full lifts. Maybe not specific enough. What do you think about that? Were you surprised that like just things shaking or just not being able to stay set for 5 seconds? Just 5 seconds.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where when we are going full speed, we find another way to get around that. So even if we are developing our core throughout the year in making it stronger, if we've never used them properly as we were doing our full lifts before, when you're now forced to use them, it's not only that it's not strong enough, it doesn't have like the experience of, okay, now we're pulling from the floor and we're stopped in this position. Like, I don't even usually use my core here at all. I've already switched to something, or I just blow past this point. So now when we're forced to use it, it's like, it's not even that the core isn't strong. It's just that it doesn't get used here in this instance.
Yeah. And we're putting a highlight on the core, but it's so many. It could be, your knee stability at the joint. You obviously see your legs shaking. It could be, which means your quads, like when they're like at that point, isometrically, how strong are they? And now we're going slower, and like they're like, we're not strong here at all, because on our back squats, it's always just boom, 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 just completing the range of motion and getting strong with like a bounce and stuff, which is where the tempo is coming in to help. Or it could be your shoulder stability. Like, can you keep active shoulders during the pull? Or during that 5 seconds, you start to turn into a turtle, because your shoulders roll forward. It's like, all right, more than likely, if we go back to like your last meet where you had your most maximal lift and you missed it, if we slowed it down, would we see a similar looking position where it's like, oh, it got really heavy, and at that point of the pull, you just don't have it. So you would have to go here and then just use momentum to get it up. We do a lot of work on the positions, and we do work to hold positions with the hang lifts and stuff. But we're kind of missing this this slower tempo to, I think, iron out the pieces in between it. Like you can be really, really strong at the knees, but you're only strong for this flash of a second going from the hang. But when you get there, going from the floor, it might be different timing. Maybe you're faster at just using gravity to lower it down the knees and snap back up and hit that snatch. But then pulling from the floor, there's so many other factors. And then by the time you get just above the knee, you're shot already.
Yeah.
And then that's a hard position for you, even though you might be okay at snatching from the knees, which a lot of people, like so many people, that's like one of the known points. It's like the knees, like right around the knees. There's so much stuff, crazy stuff going on. Were you surprised looking around the room at kind of seeing other people's technique break down from the slow pull? And you're like, whoa, look at that. Or were you not paying attention to much?
Probably a mix of, I think it makes sense that things would break down. Like, because, I mean, not only, like you said, we did go fairly heavy with that as well. And it's not a variation that we touch.
Yeah.
It's similar to like when we were going mid thigh, low hang, and then switching to high hang in knees, where just because it's like the reps at these different positions, if you're doing something else, then, you know, something else kind of slips and you're not as used to it, or you kind of have to get back in the swing of things. Slow pulls, I'm not sure the last time we've done those. For some, it might have been like the first time that they've ever even experienced that. So yeah, it makes sense to be like, you almost forget what your actual pull is because you're not thinking about it piece by piece as it goes. You just kind of move. And maybe like you are leaning a little bit more forward because you're like, when do I start to feel my hammies? Is it here, or do I not use them until I get all the way up here? Yeah, there are little pieces that I think really get exposed. One just from repetition or lack of, and others just like, yeah, we're not focused enough on it. So it gets exposed in these moments.
And I misspoke earlier when I said that we used 80%. We used 70% of the 1 rep max from the floor. And it, I was confident that it would be easier or better for the majority of you than if we paused at the knee again and just pulled normal to the knee. So I was surprised. So, because I was like, all right, when it gets hard, it might be 4 seconds or it might be 3.5. Like, and looking at the weights, like for you, the week before, I think you did like 67 kilos or something like that with a pause at the knee, and then 70%, because I used 100. All right, I did use 100. So yours did get rounded up, was 70 kilos. And I'm like, okay, we would have been going here anyways. This is the weight Miguel would have been snatching. This I would expect to be a little easier than pausing at the knees for a full 5 seconds and then going from a dead stop. So and that was the same for all of you. It was only a small, it was like it kept the progression of weight the same as what we would have done with the pause anyways. So I was like, all right, this is just expanding on the drill. We'll get past the knees a little bit and go. So it was just surprising to me that like, oh, now it got heavy versus before, just a few kilos down. For some of you guys, like you guys are crushing it at the knees. Like I think Jennifer was doing really, really well at the pause at the knees. That's a good drill for her. And then only bumping up a few kilos, I was like, whoa, I'm surprised that what this is exposing that the knee pause didn't expose.
Yeah, and I think again, like, because in the way that I was doing the knee pause, it was a little bit more natural in my pull, where I could do my regular first pull, but I would just stop. So I knew that I was in the direct position that I typically am at my knees. I think with the slow pull, you're moving everything so slowly that you're like, at what point do I get to each thing? Like you have to think about where each individual limb is at a certain point instead of like, yeah, I just push back up until my knees. And then from here, I think we think a lot in these positions that we go to often, and not the in between of it.
Yeah, that's true. We have spent a lot, like the whole goal at the beginning of this year was to kind of go back to the roots and like lay a foundation. And now I feel like we're in a good position to keep growing off of that foundation and fill in the blanks on, okay, we have not been a team focusing on like pausing on some of these things. Like even like from the high hang. Remember way back when we did like you had to pause in the dip and then go.
Yeah.
So I think working back in more of that stuff will be beneficial. Even if we do go back to the hang, it could be like, okay, do one pause, one unpause for your doubles, or pause the first couple warm-ups, then switch to the more dynamic movement. Actually having full cycles where we develop pausing at the knees or a slow pull. I do think that would be good for us to do. I've been kind of tentative about too many from the floor pulling days. Maybe because or mostly because I'm trying not to like overtax everyone's backs. And I know if we do that and all the squatting, we could certainly go down that road. But we're also not a team that deadlifts a whole lot. That's one move that we don't really utilize. Like we have in the past, but not like as hardcore as we have been on the squats. And I'm always hesitant about deadlifts too, because I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't know if the backs in this room are gonna, not that we've beaten up the backs. It's just, we just don't have but maybe we need to like do more back training. Maybe we need to like beef up everyone's low back, mid back, and upper back. What do you think on this? Because like that's kind of where my brain's been. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if this is good for our team. That's like everyone's working at a desk for the most part, and we're just constantly fighting on like not having tight hips and other things. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, if we were to do it how we've kept squats at the beginning, we would have to change that around and do pulls, like heavy pulls or deadlifts at the end, just because of how specifically taxing that is.
Yeah.
On the back. And yeah, we definitely would feel it, I think, day to day, like within a week. But I mean, we are already currently feeling it, I feel like, with the different variations that we've been doing. And again, for me, the way that I look at it is like, okay, your back is tight. Now, what can we do? There are some days where, okay, I know that maybe I'll have to get down first before I set my back instead of holding that set back the entire time just because of how fatigued it is.
Yeah.
But also I feel like it's almost like that soreness gives you the body awareness of like, this is how my back feels. This is almost each individual muscle in my back. And I know when I go like this, that these ones kind of tighten up, especially because they're all firing right now. I know this kind of takes some pressure off of this area or that. So yeah, I think we could get benefits from it. I think the only thing would be we would kind of have to end with it.
Yeah. It certainly would not put that at the beginning of the session. And it's funny, like let's say if I had a group of beginners, like you guys are all like, oh, we're just starting, barbell club's new, and you guys are across, then I would consider like, all right, we're going to do heavy snatch grip deadlifts. Then we're going to snatch from the hang or something like that. That way it's like you felt the heavy thing and then it goes down to the light thing and you're kind of taking advantage of some neurological things. And we're not deadlifting heavy enough for it to be negatively affecting one another. But you guys' strength levels are up to the point where it's like, yeah, this would ruin our whole snatch session if we did it right now.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, we only have so much time. So what does the back squat look like? A way that we could do that would be, okay, we're going to back squat in the beginning. It's almost, it's just an extension of our warm up now, even though we're training the back squat. It's like the answer to like, how do you guys train the back squat? Like the answer is like always, like that's That's just how we've been doing it. And then you would do like a snatch or a clean and jerk, and then heavy deadlift. Like that's the third thing. You just wouldn't snatch and clean and jerk as well, because we definitely wouldn't have time for 4 components unless everyone's there right at 6:15. The squat racks are already all set, shoes are on. We do like 2 stretches and then start back squatting, and even then it's probably still really tough unless we're finishing 2 components in the first 45 minutes of class, and then you have the second hour 7 to 8 to do the rest of it. There's no way. Yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about the off season. What are your thoughts on the off season? I've started thinking about it now, even though I said I wasn't going to start thinking about it. I'm like, maybe we should continue to snatch and clean and jerk and stuff, but maybe it switches to like, okay, we are going to back squat, do something with the snatch, and then like accessory conditioning stuff for the third piece. And the snatch just kind of gets its own day. And then the next day is like, okay, we're going to do front squats, we're going to jerk, and then do sleds or something like that. Like kind of like spread out the components. Like they don't need to be together anymore because like there is no meet until the foreseeable future, and allow like more time to like, hey, all right, we're doing racks off or jerks off the squat racks, and you can just solely focus on that, type of thing. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean,
then there is still a third day where it's like, yeah, we are going to bench press on Friday and this other stuff,
I'm sure if you go back to last year when we first were talking about the off season, I kind of say the same thing every time. Like, I don't really care what we do. I think my intention is always to like be there less than I am. So I don't typically care like what the programming is, but I would say from a perspective of, I think we have this time around more quote unquote newer members who are still trying to refine more snatch and clean and jerk. So I think it would still be beneficial for them to be able to get their hands on those lifts. Yeah. Whereas like for me or shop, but I mean, this also changes as we, in expectations for states and how we perform, it kind of changes where maybe we want to get right back into it because there's things that we want to change or improve on. But where I might need a break, other people feel like they're just getting started. Yeah. And would love to kind of work on things some more. So yeah, I think it would be beneficial to still have it, especially this time around, just based on where people are at with the lifts. And even like Justin, like squat jerking currently. So I think it would be beneficial for him to still have days where he can get those reps in as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's like, do we need to spend, most of October, November, and some of December, although December is a tricky month, so maybe I won't even lump too much of that in there, doing like a full-on powerlifting cycle, things like that, where it's like, okay, we'll have a snatch day, we'll still keep our squats going, the tempos, the reps, all these things will change. Maybe during the off season is the perfect time and a nice beneficial time to do sets of 10 on the back squat and like develop that. And that way you can kind of get like that different muscle development and we can get everything we would want out of it. And then when we are getting back to normal, we're back to 5s, 3s, 1s, whatever it is. Yeah. And then one day out of the week could be like, all right, we did our snatches and clean and jerks on the other 2 days. And that's Monday, Wednesday. And now Friday, which is historically the day that all of you are going to tell me, well, I'm not in this Friday, and whatnot, over the holidays and everything. That's the day we're doing like a bench press thing or something like that where, all right, well, hey, if you want to do that, you come in on that day. So yeah, I'll keep thinking about it. But I do think that is where I'm leaning because we do have like at least one person who's waiting for our club to open again, and then I was thinking about that. I'm like, if I do have these people that want to join the barbell club, and then I'm telling them they can't right now because we're in states prep, which I still think like I'm happy I did this because every new person adds a significant amount of work to me on getting numbers done. What's going on with you? Are you coming? Like just everything, to not have to worry about that with an unknown person and just be like, all right, how is just Miguel doing? And the people that we have in there, those people who are going to eventually join, that would be kind of weird. Like, all right, now we're doing sumo deadlifts and box squats and bench press type of deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, I think it'll work out. I think it's going to all work out. So yeah, I think we will be ready. That's just the thing. I think everybody who has signed up for states has enough experience to be ready. If we need to tweak things, we can. You always got to get that first lift. Like, let's just get that first lift. It may not be a meet because of all kinds of circumstances where some show up and they're like, yep, this is my 93% of my whatever to be my opener. It could just be like, you know what, let's just take some of the pressure off of it. You missed a chunk over the summer. Let's get that first lift in and then do this and that. And then see what the rest of the competition is looking like too. Because that's something we talked about a couple meetings ago where it's like, we may only need to do so much to get a medal and to do it.
Right.
So it's cool stuff. And we're going to be tapering soon, which is weird to think about too. I'm kind of rethinking the tapering a little bit. It might just be we tone down some stuff, which I'm already starting to do. If you notice on the back squats, instead of doing 4 sets of 4, it was just 1. I'm already starting to tone down some things, but we are like 4 weeks out. It's crazy how time just hasn't made sense all year. Like, oh, that's next month, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, next month is tomorrow. I don't even know how. It's been a very fast-paced year. Have you felt like that?
Yeah, for sure. Just something's always going on, and I think that has definitely made time kind of fly by. Not a lot of idle time, it seems.
No. Every weekend there's like something to do, and I guess if we didn't have the games this past summer, I think it would feel different. It would be like, all right, we're just kind of chugging along, getting ready for states. But for some reason, like that whole like July-ish to pretty much August is like, 2 months are gone. States is in 4 weeks. Are you guys ready? And it's like, we're gonna be. We're definitely gonna be. It's been nice having the TVs back in the room. Yeah. Just to play stuff on, or also just have the workout on the board. That way, just easy reference. How have you felt about the TVs back?
Yeah, because I go straight to the gym from work most days, so even while I'm just doing like my regular warm up, just to put something on, lifting related is cool. Also, just because I know that, again, like people are newer to the sport, so they don't have as much knowledge or like have not seen a lot of international weightlifting as often. So it's cool to like get them to see what that looks like and the differences and how it's really at its core. Obviously it's all the same as what we do. So that's cool. And then, definitely having it up on the screen helps. Obviously, like we know what we're doing when we come in, but sometimes just to like get a glance and go, oh yeah, okay, we're doing this. This is kind of like the goal when it's fully written out, kind of helps too.
Yeah, you're going to be in that situation you see on the TV in a couple weeks. You're going to be wearing a singlet, stepping on a wooden platform, and there's going to be people, reffing and holding your lifting to a different standard, even though I think we've been pretty good about holding high standards with our focuses and everything. I have noticed some of the newer folk lifting and watching at the same time. So,
Yeah, that's why I shut it off the other day, where I was like, the squats are over. We can't have this while we're lifting. So yeah.
yeah. Or maybe we start turning around. So like face the other way. And then when you're resting, you can watch, but then the TV's to your back. I did notice that a couple times. And I'm like, that's because also it's like at a turn of the head. And I'm like, why? You're trying to do too many things. That's funny. Cool. Well, Miguel, States is coming up. We have a couple more weeks left of prep. We're going to be ready. You're going to be immersed in the action too, volunteering. You'll be reffing and marshalling, which I don't think you've marshaled before, right?
No.
Well, how you feeling about being in the action of it?
Good. I mean, it's just because of like the way that it's always kind of worked out. I've never really been able to see day one of States. So I'm more interested in it for that element. In like a typical meet day, it's a little bit harder for me to volunteer just because of myself mentally and how I get like geared up for competition. So I think it'll be easier this time around for me to just kind of know that I go the next day. So I'm excited to volunteer and like get to see essentially like every session because I'll be working it in some way. So yeah, that'll be cool.
And from different perspectives, like when you're in the warm-up room, you're going to have a bird's eye to like everything going on in there, the drama on every platform, the this, the that, the busyness, because that warm-up room gets pretty busy. And then you'll also be the one either putting in the changes on the computer or taking the change from the coach, making sure that was correct, and then relaying it to the person on the computer. And like you guys are literally feeding the competition all the attempts. And then you can, of course, when you're reffing, you'll be engaged in the full, the competition and be able to see that go. And I think, I don't know, I don't know if it's something that you need to help, but it is a cool thing where like you can like have taken the competition in, and then as an athlete, you know everything to expect. Like, what's going on at all these places. Like, oh, okay, that's not so bad. I was sitting in that chair yesterday. I warmed up that white light button. So hopefully it's working for me today. So it definitely like makes you feel at ease for the competition.
Yeah.
Similar to how like if you were lifting, like it'd be good to show up a couple sessions beforehand. Like I don't think I've ever shown up at a meet that I was lifting in, probably because I'm also coaching at a lot of them. But I don't think I ever showed up only just at my weigh-in before I'm lifting. It's almost like showing up to a party late. You're like, I feel like I've missed something. Versus if you were like one of the first couple people there, and then other people started coming in, and like, you're like, I was established at the party.
Right.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I get that.
So that'll be cool. And marshalling is a lot of fun. It's it is a fun job. It's both positions at marshalling have their own challenges and their own fun parts. The signing the card part, you get to see like the coach drama from like a different angle when like they're at the table and you see like the wheels turning and they're reading the thing and they're looking around and everything. You just get to see all of that. Or when they'll put their hand down on the card and they're about to sign something and then they're like, no, wait a minute, hold on. Just so, or maybe someone comes up right behind them and ruins their whole plan. Like sometimes you'll see someone like think through it and you're just like, oh, I bet he's going to do this. And then they do that. And then they walk away and literally the next guy just comes right over and like, I'm going to ruin all that right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, so it's just, or the intensity of when like they should be making a change right now and you're looking at the clock and you're like, I don't know if they're gonna get this change in right now, and then they do or they don't, and you're like, man. And then you got to be Miguel, the one that says, I'm sorry, coach, but you can't make that change type of deal. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I think I can't remember who. Are you? Let's see. I'm looking at. Like I said, I have it right. This is always up. You and Haley will be working session 1 Marshall team, and Haley just marshaled for the first time at Frank's meet back in May, so she'll be able to show you the ropes. So you guys will be able to decide, all right, who's going to be on the cards, who's going to be on the computer, type of deal. I don't know which one you'd prefer.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, we'll find out. Or Haley would just tell you, you're on the computer, I'm on the cards, or something.
Yeah.
So that'll be a lot of fun. Well, Miguel, any other thoughts about the state championships, how training's been going, the team, the whole thing?
No, I guess we'll have to see. I'll have a more complete look as we get closer, or as it passes. But yeah, for now, just moving. Things are transitioning. Mindset kind of changes week to week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Me too. It's always the week of early in the week will be stressful. Then Thursday will feel like that feeling of like just before you go on vacation, like you're packing and you're like, oh, all right, I'm going to see all these people, all that stuff. And then Thursday and Friday will also be like super focused on prep. So it's like you don't even have time to be stressed out about anything. And then during the event, you're just kind of like I'm coaching each of you guys. So like looking forward to doing that. And then you're just hoping in the back of your head, I don't want that text message that comes through a little too late. That's like, hey, I'm so sorry. I was signed up for all these sessions and I can't come now. Like I'm just like, that's actually honestly like the most stressful part for me is like to have all the commitments and all the pieces in place. And then for like that like week, like midweek, someone who's like doing a lot, they're like, I can't come. And you're like, all right, because now like I have all these other things that I'm trying to work on, but I have to fix this problem too. And if we already had so much of a difficult time finding bodies up to this point, losing a body that's working 4 sessions, it really hurts. It's just a kick to the shins, but life happens. So it's like, luckily this year we do have a decent amount of bodies floating around that like they could be doing something, or like I got them in to do something and that's all that was left. And they're like, well, I'll be around the whole weekend. I'm like, I will remember that because when on session 3 and 4, such and such is like, oh, I can't come or I have to go or something like that. I'm like, hey, what about you? Can you go do that thing? So it'll be good. It'll be fun. And we have a new t-shirt design. We're going with a heather gray, soft heather gray with purple. It'll be like a purple states design. Here, I'll show you. I didn't show you guys yet. T-shirt, right?
Nice. Yeah.
So this switching up the color each year. We did the black, gold, and red 2 years. And then it's like, all right, it doesn't have to match the banners and other stuff, especially since we're changing the medals now and everything. So just switch it up, do something different. Because after a while, how many black and gold t-shirts do you really want?
Right.
So yeah, that's just all I'm doing now. It's just all the prep for it, all the paperwork and computer work. And then the week after, that'll be it. And then we're right back to training. So training for what? I don't know yet. I suppose I should probably ask the group. Arnold? Is anyone doing the Arnold? Probably not, I would imagine.
Yeah, I guess we inquire post states.
Yeah, it would be an inquiry. That's definitely something to worry about in October, mid to late October. If not, it's just we're back on the whole regional train. Boy, was it nice just having just the regional to worry about at the beginning of the year.
For sure.
Nice. So, all right, cool. Well, Miguel, thanks for coming on. The road to states will continue, and I think we're going to all do well on it. We always do. We'll certainly work hard on it. And Miguel, where can people follow you?
Couldn't be Miguel on Instagram.
Cool. Follow me, James A. McDermott. Follow Albany Cross and Barbell Club, Albany CrossFit, New York Weightlifting. And that's it for now. The Barbell Strikes Back. That's a lot of. I wonder if anyone that I've ever has heard this part, who has ever held true to like the very, very end, has ever like followed all of them at the same time. I suppose I would see it. I've never seen one name just all of a sudden out of the blue be like follow 5 Instagram accounts at the same time. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know, but cool. Well, Miguel, thanks for coming on. We will talk again soon.
Thank you.